Hello, this is Ray Stendel, and thank you so much for joining another exciting episode of the Napoleon Hill Ezine. I am joined with Judy Williamson from the Napoleon Hill Foundation to talk about another exciting topic. And today's topic is all about the desire for material gain. I had the privilege of being able to be one of the contributing authors for this Ezine, and certainly I'm looking forward to discussing this topic with Judy. Judy, you have a quote, I believe, from Napoleon Hill that we'd like to open with. Can you share that with our viewers?
I'd be happy to, Ray. This is the 10th motive, or the last motive in the list that Napoleon Hill created as the reasons that people act out on their desires. And this particular motive is one that many people skirt, or they choose not to openly want to discuss. But you took on the guest column this week, and I'm very appreciative of that because many people said, well, I don't think I could write that column on material gain, but you did, and you did an expert job, so I thank you for that. The one quote that I'm going to read from Napoleon Hill, though, is in the course, the PMA Science of Success course, and he says, but let anyone who imagines that he does not want money try to get along without it. He will soon find out that one of the worst crimes a man can be guilty of is to be poverty-stricken and broke. Let us be realistic enough to face the facts of life and demand from life the best that it can give. And so, as Napoleon Hill always is, he's very practical. He gets to the point, he gets to the heart of the issue, and he says we all need money. So, Ray, could you talk a little bit about that idea? And you're going to mention some of Napoleon Hill's thoughts as well as the thoughts of others. And I'd just like to hear what you have to say.
Well, I think that's such a on-target quote, because if we really think about our lives and we think about experiencing all the good that this world has to offer, such as travel, being able to go to exotic places in the world and experience different cultures and different people and really enjoy what life has to offer. If we think about education for ourselves and for our family and being able to obtain the best education available to us, as well as thinking about food and organic foods and foods which are really clean and free of all the junk that is in a lot of food. Not only to think about exercise and how we want to have the right coaches in our life, whether that's at a business level or at a physical level in terms of getting fit. Every one of these items requires financial resources, and the better the coaches are, the better the food is, the better the travel is, the more richly you lead your life. It requires financial resources. Otherwise, really going through life as a pauper and not being able to enjoy all the diversity that this world has to offer doesn't really sound like a very satisfying life. So I totally agree with what Napoleon Hill has to say, and I think in this video we're going to talk about what it really means to have a desire for material gain and how that intrinsically is tied to one's purpose. And that purpose really leads to adding a lot of value and leaving a legacy. What do you think?
I agree 100% with you because, money is really energy. And we take that energy, those funds that we have, and we spend them on all those good things that you just talked about. And I want to take just a moment now to thank you, Ray, for doing that leader certification video for us because in a few weeks, we'll be going to Ireland. We have 40 people that'll be on that leader certification trip with us. And I know that your video, which was part of your certification process, made a difference for those people that wanted to watch something and to really grasp what that was all about. So they've taken their energy, their money, and they put it forward, paid it forward to the foundation so that they can become certified leaders just as you are. And you were a critical part of that, so I thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I know they're going to get an amazing experience out of it and are really going to come away with some important distinctions that are going to serve them and everyone else that they choose to share the message with. So that's great to hear. So Judy, when we think about this desire for material gain, one of the things that comes up immediately for me, as we talk about in the article, is really the laws of compensation and what the three laws are. If we think about it, the first thing is that there has to be a clear demand for a product or service for you to be able to solve and to provide value. The second law is that we need to be able to provide the right quality, quantity, and you have to deliver that service or product with the right spirit or the right perspective. Otherwise, the customer is not going to be happy. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and had a great product but lousy service, or someone wasn't really enthusiastic to see you. It really detracted from the whole experience. And finally, as we think about this, how easy is it to replace you as you provide your product or service? And if we think about these three dimensions, and we think about some of the people in the world who have accumulated the significant material gain, like Warren Buffett, like Bill Gates, if we go into sports, like Michael Jordan, if we go into people who produce songs and are artists, and we can go and look at Elvis Presley, we can look at the Beatles. At their prime, they really satisfied these conditions, and hence they became incredibly wealthy. What do you think about these laws?
Well, the law of compensation, that term originated with Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he wrote an essay with that very same title. And in it, essentially, it's a very long, detailed essay. Napoleon Hill suggests that you read it, but take some time to study it. He says, essentially, what goes around comes around. What you do for others, you get back for yourself. It's like the law of karma. It's bringing value. It's bringing utilization to the product that you're advocating, whether it's something that you're selling, an item, or whether it's education or whatever it is. You have to be cognizant of the fact that you're delivering something of value, and I think that's really appropriate no matter what we do, whether you're a coach, whether you're an educator, whether you're a seminar presenter. You have to really put out more than the people are paying for the entire event. That's what I feel. Because if I were enrolling in my course, I would want to get something beyond what I was promised. And I think that you feel the same way. I know what you do, and I know how you share with others, the knowledge that you have and the resources that you have, and you do a great job. And that's why, we feel comfortable in having these discussions with you, because you advocate what we're talking about. So that law of compensation thing, it's not just simply giving to get. It's much deeper than that. It's kicking in something within the universe that brings your reward back to you when you are supposed to receive it. And it's as simple as that, but it's as profound as that too.
It is, and it's surprising how simple a concept it is, but how few people have truly integrated that and internalized it and live by those rules to presumably get what they're looking for. As we talked about value, I think it's important that we dive into this whole notion of value and what really is value. So, in order to provide value, we first have to make a decision that we want to do something in a certain way for certain people or companies so that they can benefit, so that in return there is a barter or an exchange between value and financial resources to accumulate material gain. But when we go through this process, we are volitionally choosing to think. We are choosing to take an action. And as we do that, we use our time. Now, if you stop to think about it, time. We are not going to live forever. We are on a vacation on earth. I keep saying that expression. I don't know where I picked it up. But we truly are on a vacation on earth, and we are taking our time to do something. So as we take our time to think and to act, we are using our precious resource, which is our time, which equates to our life. So now, as you start to think about it, our life is being used or not used to accomplish or not accomplish a certain set of objectives and deliver value. Now, as we consider this process of life and we go down the process, eventually we move up this channel of self-actualization where we start to at least think about what kind of legacy are we leaving? What did our life really mean? So when we start asking those types of questions, it feeds back into the notion of what value did we create and for whom and why did we do it? And was that value on purpose? So as we start to string these ideas and concepts together, the desire for material gain at its root or fundamentally is really about contributing. It's about leaving a legacy. It's about being happy with what your life resulted in. What do you think, Judy?
Oh, I agree so much with that. And when we do our seminars, and you probably remember this, we use a movie clip from The Field of Dreams. And as you were talking about exchange of services for, a monetary income, a reward, whatever you want to call it. I remember the scene on the bleachers where they were talking, well, who would pay to come to this out here in this field in the middle of nowhere? And the coach comes up and he says, "Oh, they'll gladly pass over the $20 because they'll revive their memories of their early years, and they'll have more than an experience. They'll have a profound experience, and that's what we want to create. We want to stir the pot. We want to create interest in people. We want people to begin to become givers instead of getters, and we want people to go out there and make a difference. And how you go about making a difference is your choice. And because you do that, as all those people that you mentioned have done, the world gladly reciprocates, and they pass over to them what they feel that they're worth in monetary, remuneration. So I agree with you 100%.
And on the topic of making a difference, I think it's important to realize that as we make a difference at an individual level inside of us, we start to feel this fulfillment that what we are doing is worthwhile. And we're going to get into this, I think, in a little bit, but really that's a big part of the secret of life is obtaining happiness and fulfillment. And what we do to accomplish that in a legal and ethical way is we exchange value and we contribute. But we'll get into that. Something else I thought would be important to bring up here is what do we do with all this material gain once we get it? Like, what is the purpose of it? And I've been asked this question a few times, and I really think it comes down to two things. The first is to enjoy this material gain and live comfortably. Comfortably based on how you decide to define it. But more than being comfortable, it's allowing us to be in a creative mindset that allows us to move forward. I mean, it's pretty hard to be creative when you're shivering in your house because you don't have enough money to pay for the heating bill, right? So it allows us to be creative. And the second purpose for this material gain is that it gives us more financial resources to be able to deploy capital, whether that is with building and equipment or labor or people that become part of our team to further advance our purpose, and which further brings about the whole value cycle that we just finished talking about. I mean, having a pile of money in the bank is great. It makes you feel good. And you can enjoy sipping a margarita if you enjoy margaritas in Tahiti, no problem. But there's going to come a point, at some point, where if you built that fortune honestly and ethically, you're going to want to deploy it back into the way in which you created that fortune because of the fulfillment that it gives to you, or at least you're going to want to channelize it, whether that is into a foundation or it's helping other people in some meaningful way, whatever it is that gives you that fulfillment. And I think it's so important to realize this. And if we look again back on history, we can find people who were very successful at one point. I mentioned Elvis Presley. I personally enjoy his music, even though it was a while ago that he was singing. But see what happened with him. His life took a negative route because he wasn't living on purpose at one point in his life. He abused food, he abused alcohol, abused drugs. We all know the story. But the point is that he didn't reinvest it back in his purpose in the way he could have and made an even more profound difference and achieved even more fulfillment. What do you think, Judy?
Well, two people that you haven't mentioned that are worth mentioning are both Andrew Carnegie and W. Clement Stone, because they lived on purpose, and as each of those individuals approached the end of their life, they reintegrated their funds back into society. Andrew Carnegie, of course, with the libraries, he gave 90% of his fortune back to the American people and also back to people in Scotland. And today, even within the vicinity of where we're located, you can still see the libraries standing and being used by the people, the Carnegie Libraries. W. Clement Stone was a strong supporter of the Boys and Girls Club. He also strongly supported the Napoleon Hill Foundation. He was our chairman until he died. And upon his death, his son, Norman, invited us to his home and asked us if there were any artifacts, any awards, anything that the foundation could use, as well as a large gift of Horatio Alger books that came to the library. Just phenomenal people, and they thought of others before they thought of themselves. And I think that's something that we all need to do. We're on a vacation here, just like you said. I love that term. I'm going to use it now. And when our vacation is ended, what happens with the stuff that we left behind? We want to make sure it has a good home.
Indeed.
And it's not too early for any of us to start thinking about it, is it?
No, it's not too early at all. I mean, when you start, I'm fortunate that I haven't had many friends or people close to me who have passed on, but the few that I've had, and you start to think about their time here and how quickly they left, and you start to really realize that we are not going to live forever, and there's going to come a time when we reflect back and ask ourselves, what was our life really about, and what did it mean, and who did it mean it to? And I think a lot of what we're talking about is it's very rational behavior. We're not talking about doing something that is unhealthy or unnatural. It's rational. We rationally want to grow and be all that we can be. Using the Army slogan here, we do, right? It's natural. So what we need to do is we need to embrace it. We don't need to feel bad that we want to have this desire for material gain, but realize that it's not the desire to go and win the lottery. It's not the desire to have a pile of cash in front of you. It's the desire to contribute in a meaningful way and be rewarded exactly to the penny for your contribution. And I think that's what's really important to communicate.
Very good summation of what we've been talking about. And it's been an interesting conversation. It's a difficult topic to discuss because I think both of us feel, we're coming at it from several different angles. But when you start to look at it, we've all heard the story about how do you identify an elephant with the blind man trying the trunk and the tail and the body of the elephant. That's what we're trying to get to here. What does material gain really mean? And as Napoleon Hill says, don't be stupid. We all need it. So acknowledge it, and if that's a desire of yours, use that as a motive to propel yourself to your definite major purpose. But don't make that your definite major purpose. Use it to get yourself to it.
And to your point, if it happens to be your definite major purpose, sorry, you're never going to reach it. Because remember, as we talked about it, the desire for the material gain has to be there, otherwise you won't have it. But if it is your major purpose, realize it is the effect of a cause, and that cause is value creation. And once you start to shift it and start asking yourself how you can drive more and more value to more and more people based on the laws of compensation, which Emerson talked about and we've talked about here, the more prosperous you will be. So
that's an excellent distinction. What a way to end this. That's just the cherry on the sundae. Very good, Ray.
There we go. So thank you so much for watching this episode. Please share it with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers. Let other people enjoy the benefits that you're getting through this free Ezine. We have a whole lot of more exciting content to share with you, and it's feeding your mind with these ideas and then acting on it that's really going to make the difference. So with that, we wish you the very best, and stay tuned for another exciting episode.